Hello my dear friends, you're in the military summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about another massive missile attack and drone attack across Ukraine. During the previous night between the 7th and 8th of November of 2025, the Russians launched massive attack on the Ukraine's energy sector. And this map was published by Ukrainian sources somewhere at 1 a.m. of Ukrainian time. And according to this map, we can see the approximate routes of Russian attacks between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m. So as you can see, the Russians attacked mainly the territory along the river of Dnipro. The sources reported that the Russians were attacking energy objects and energy facility. With the involvement of aviation and ground-based launchers, a precision strike were carried out on the territory of Ukraine. Approximately 5 air ballistic Kinzhal missiles were used by the Russian Federation from Tambov Oblast. Furthermore, these sources are saying that right after this wave attack, the Russians launched few more waves of attacks using dozens of drones and missiles. And this map was published by pro-Ukrainian sources by the morning of the 8th of November of 2025. And here we can see the detailed map of routes of attacks, approximate routes of attacks. And as you can see, the Russians once again used dozens of missiles and hundreds of drones. The sources are saying that this was the biggest attack on Ukraine's energy sector. The sources are saying that the energy Minister of Energy of Ukraine reported a strike on energy infrastructure. Monitoring groups are reporting a series of explosions in Pavlograd. Strikes occurred in Kremenchuk, Chernigov, Kiev, and Dnipropetrovsk region. Emergency power outages have been introduced in a number of Ukrainian oblasts, as well as in Kiev and Chernigov. The metro is not operating in Kharkiv. So, as you can see once again, the Russians this time attacked just mainly the eastern part of Ukraine and partially the central part of Ukraine. Lots of explosions were recorded. The Russians attacked the Dnipropetrovsk region. Here we can see the video that we got from this territory. The video captured an impact near the Pridniprovsk thermal power plant. As a result of this attack, the right bank part of Dnipropetrovsk was completely without power, according to local media. In addition, water supply outages began in several areas of the city. So the sources are trying to tell us that during the previous night, the Russians attacked this power station. Furthermore, we received a video from the city by the name of Pavlograd, and here we can see how vehicles were moving probably along main streets and roads, and here we can see lots of explosions somewhere around the horizon of the city of this picture. So the sources are saying that Russians attacked infrastructure, gas infrastructure of Ukraine in this area. So lots of explosions took place, but as you can see, we have received just 2 videos for now. We are waiting for additional updates and additional details, and during this day, during the next 12 hours and during the next video, we will discuss everything probably in more details. But as of now, we have this situation. And the most important that as a result of this attack, the Ukrainians were forced to probably turn off electricity and energy supply across Ukraine. Ukrenergo, the Ukrainian state company, reports emergency power outages in Kiev and the parts of the Cherkasy and Dnipropetrovsk regions. So most likely the situation will take place across the entire eastern part of Ukraine and the central part of Ukraine. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation on the ground. During the previous 12 hours, we received lots of very interesting updates. According to information we have, right after the Russians managed to establish complete control over the settlement of Uspenovka, I would like to remind you that this happened yesterday. Yesterday the Russians published lots of videos of how they were fighting for the territory of the settlement, and now this village is under complete control of the armed forces of the Russian Federation. And today we start receiving reports that the Russians began advancing in the direction of the settlements by the name of Alexandrovka and Pokrovsk. This information this morning was provided by several pro-Russian sources. As of now, we haven't received any video that can confirm this, but if this information is correct, then most likely in coming days we're gonna start receiving first videos from the settlements of Gai, Vadradna and Danilovka. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the area of the city of Pokrovsk. As you can see, we have lots of changes. The sources are saying that the Russians currently control probably up to 95% of the city of Pokrovsk. Several neutral mappers stated that 95% of Pokrovsk is now under Russian control. As for the city of Kupiansk, around 50-52% of Kupiansk is now under Russian control as well. So the situation is very difficult. Ukrainians controls just 5%. Most likely, we are talking about the most northern part and probably the most northwestern part of the city. As for the northeastern and the eastern parts of the city of Pokrovsk, today these territories were completely colored in Russian favor. So once again, this is the situation by the end of the 7th of November, and this is the situation by the beginning of the 8th of November. The armed forces of the Russian Federation managed to establish complete control over this territory, which means that the city of Mirnograd is completely blocked by Russians from the west, from the northwest, and from the southwest. Furthermore, the Russians continue their clearing operation on the territory of the settlement of Sukhayar. This is how the map was updating during the previous days. So this is the situation by the end of the 6th of November, and this is the situation already by the end of the 8th of November, by the beginning of the 8th of November. So most likely in coming days, the village would be captured and secured completely, and Ukrainians would be forced to fall back further in the northern direction with the purpose to stay as close as possible to the main logistic roads and to the main evacuation lines. The Ukrainians during the previous night made lots of attempts to counterattack in this area along three lines between the settlements of Grishina and Pokrovsk, but Russians controlled it to these three lines, and they always bomb them and attack just with the purpose to pin down Ukrainians and not to allow them to be there flexible and mobile. Furthermore, as you can see, we have huge changes in the area between cities of Rodinska and Mirnograd. So this is the situation by the end of the 7th of November, and this is the situation by the beginning of 8th of November. We have three geolocations that confirms progress, additional progress on the ground in the central part of Rodinska, additional progress that confirm Russian control almost over the northern outskirts of the city of Mirnograd, and another video confirming Russians entered the city of Mirnograd from the north. So in this video we can see how Ukrainians were FPV droning and attacking Russian units that were moving in the direction of the city of Mirnograd from the north in the southern direction. This FPV drone operator attacked Russian soldier right exactly at this point. Based on this video, we came to the conclusion that this part was already captured by Russians. So as we can see, the news is tightening around the city of Pokrovsk without any chances for Ukrainians for evacuation. Furthermore, during the previous 24 hours, Ukrainians made lots of very interesting statements. So, for example, this is the video with the chief of the general staff of the Ukrainian armed forces. He announced certain decisions regarding Pokrovsk, which will be announced later. All decisions regarding this operation will be made by the military command. This is definitely not a public matter, but the public will be informed about the consequences of these decisions when they are made and when they can be become public. Currently, unnecessary information publicly will certainly not facilitate the execution of our troops' missions. Another important statement was made by the President of Ukraine, Zelensky. Most likely, he's not agree with the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine. Zelensky stated that Russia's capture of Pokrovsk could delay the tightening of sanctions against it, says Zelensky. Putin could also use the capture of Pokrovsk as an excuse to persuade the West to pressure Kiev to withdraw Ukrainian troops from DPR. I think Russia with this Pokrovsk story is trying to show success on the battlefield. Then they might try to bring back the narrative that we will seize Donbass, force the president and Ukrainians to leave Donbass because we will seize eastern Ukraine anyway. Force him, and then he will come to an agreement among ourselves. This is a factor that could influence the imposition of sanctions or of the postponement of sanctions. Everyone is waiting, Zelensky says. So Zelensky, as you can see, has completely different opinion with the commander-in-chief, with the chief of the general staff. We believe that Ukrainian authorities, military authorities, are trying to convince Zelensky that it's time to withdraw troops from Pokrovsk and Mirnograd and to save as many as possible soldiers. But Zelensky insists that the city of Pokrovsk and Mirnograd the Ukrainians should fight for these territories for as long as possible, because he sees that if they lose the city of Pokrovsk, most likely the Western countries will increase pressure on Zelensky to withdraw troops from the inside, from the rest of Donbass, without fighting for the cities of Drushkovka, Kramatorsk, and Slaviansk. So Zelensky believes that for as long as he can to control the city of Pokrovsk, the better political and international situation Ukraine will have. Anyway, let's wait and see what is going to be next, but this is a very important piece of news that for the first time, probably since the beginning of the special military operation, Zelensky started having issues and problems with military commanders of Ukrainian army. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Kupiansk direction. During the previous 24 hours and 12 hours, additional changes on the ground were recorded. Once again, according to different mappers, by the morning of the 8th of November of 2025, the Russians controlled up to 52% of the settlement. So this is the situation by the end of the 7th of November, and this is the situation by the beginning of the 8th of November. The Russians continue advancing, and Ukrainians have controlled just over this part of the city of Kupiansk, which most likely could be abandoned by Ukrainians also in coming days. The Ukrainians at the same time continue carry out counterattacks from the west, but in this video we can see how another vehicle was discovered by Russians and immediately destroyed. So all counterattacks, the Russians are holding their lines, repelling every attack that was carried out by Ukrainians. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.